So I've thought of doing an unboxing, and this one's quite a special one because this is an unboxing of a collection of a particular comic strip, and it's my all-time favorite comic. If I had to pick any comic that I would say defined my comic collecting habit, my comic reading habits, and just my journey from 6 years of age upwards to where I am now for loving and reading comics, it's this particular one. And this could be a clue. So to make it fun, I've not taken it out of the box yet. I have just opened it just to check it's not damaged. It seems okay. So this is my all-time favorite comic series, whether it's comics, whether it's newspaper comic strip or regular comic, anything which is related to comics. Charles M. Schulz's Peanuts is my favorite of all time. I'll give you a bit of history. Back when I was 6, oh, and the reason I picked this one up to start collecting in this format, 1969 was the year I was born. And the reason I picked this one as well, this was the storyline, this was the year that introduced, because 1970, the 1971 is the year that they introduced Woodstock to Peanuts. And that was, as you could tell here, Woodstock is my favourite character from any comic. So it holds a lot of two special things: my year of birth and my introduction, my favorite comic character out of any comic character. So when I was 6, we had these family friends who we called Uncle and Auntie, even though they were just as close as it could be to being an uncle and auntie. And I think that was the first time I met somebody who was a geek, because back in the 70s, there wasn't that kind of terminology, but he had a real passion for film. He took me to see 2001 when I was about 7. But another thing he loved was newspaper strips, in particular Snoopy. And he had in the UK, I think in America they might have had them as well, but were like these small, like digest-sized paperback books, about 150 pages. I think they were done by Coronet in the UK, and he bought me two, and he said, "There you go, see what you think of them." And I was hooked. I'd never read anything like it before. I was just lost in this story about these, what are they, 5 or 6 year olds, just a daily slice of life where imaginations run wild, where Charlie Brown has got to be the most relatable character ever, where he was lovable even in his failure. And but that for me started my love affair with Peanuts. Those two books is when that's when I first became a comic collector of any kind of shape or form. Because yeah, it's newspaper strip, but it's still comics. Um, and over from the age of 6 all through to about being 15, 16, I carried on collecting those books, and I amassed about 120, 130 of them. Um, so yeah, that was the first thing that I really collected before I started collecting comics regularly. So Peanuts holds a very, very special place in my heart. In fact, I think that was the first time when either a creator or a celebrity passed away where it upset me. So when Charles Schulz passed away, I was devastated. So let's just have a look at this book. So this is the best way to experience the work of Charles Schulz in Peanuts. For me, like I said, I had a lot of them. So I even had the ones from the early 50s. For me, the peak period was 1964 to the late 80s. Some of the stuff in the 90s was okay, but it got a bit stale then. I think that was the the great period was from about mid 1960s to just the end of the 80s. And this bit especially was just peak Peanuts. I am going to get, like I said, the early ones from 1964 onwards to now, and I will get all the 80s as well. So there's a really nice introduction. In the UK, this is released by Canongate. In America, it was Fantagraphics did it, and you get a lot of pages. But it was the first artist that I used to copy the art style with as well. There's just something wholesome and relatable. It's Peanuts is one of the few strips that could speak to you when you're a child. It spoke to me when I was 6 and 7, and yet you could get even more from it as an adult. So cannot wait to dive into this. The book presentation is so high quality as well. So yeah, this will be another collecting. Well, I've been putting off buying these for a long time, but they're now at a decent price. You can get these from a lot of places, £15, which is what I paid for this. And you get so many pages as well. And like I said, it's just something nice to read after you've been bogged down with like a creator-owned horror or thriller book, a graphic novel, or a Marvel or DC comic. This is just something just to cleanse your palate, just give your brain a bit of a breather, and the simplicity of the line, and yet Charles Schulz's artwork is very, very hard to replicate because it wasn't just lines, there was a quirkiness to it. And I actually did like some of his later work because obviously he's an old man before from the late 80s onwards, so the lines got a bit shakier. But there's something exciting about those shaky lines. But it's just, I mean, without this, there'd be no Calvin and Hobbes. Like the flights of fantasy that Snoopy had, being the Red Baron and other things, and you've got Linus with a great pumpkin patch. But here we go. So you got the appearance of Woodstock. Initially, Woodstock didn't have a name. It took a few months before they actually gave a name to Woodstock. Yes, I do know lots about Snoopy. This for me is my ultimate comfort reading. It's just like a warm hug of a book. But yeah, if I had to choose one range of books to keep, it'd be the whole oeuvre of Charles Schulz's Peanuts because you can't get better than this. And I'm so pleased that this was my first kind of like comic what I got into, and I think that's what made my taste be so varied. It's just perfection. So I must say I won't do a review of this because everybody knows Peanuts, and I think this is more like a review of the layout and how it's presented. Like I say, I think this is the best way to read Peanuts. There's so many different formats you can get um, the collected works of Peanuts in, but for me, this is the one that I find most pleasing. And and even if the cover gets damaged, it's a really nice interior cover as well. So yeah, I just thought that'd be a little bit different. So this is my all-time favorite comic strip, and this is the comic strip that shaped my reading habits from a child to adulthood. So if you've never read Snoopy, if you just read one or two strips, I highly recommend diving in with these collections. And it's a fun way to start. It's like what I've done here. Choose your birth year and go on from there, and then go backwards afterwards. But yeah, absolutely made up with this. This has been one of my most pleasing buys for myself of this year. So I hope you enjoyed that. But nothing special, nothing. I just thought I'll share it with you. Another bit of Mandy Law. Okay, bye.